offline. Check out this stream from 4 seconds ago. Excuse me. Oh, there we are. We're live. Okay,
Yay, we're live. So I'll talk for a few moments to make sure I'm going through and you're going through and everything else, that we can both be heard. Because that's important.
Yep.
We good?
I'm waiting for a minute to see if my audio is coming through the stream.
Okay.
It is.
All
Sounds
right.
low. Oh, that's because I have us down low there. I'll turn this up a little. Okay.
All right. If you will play
light.
Start us off.
Move my light a little. I got a new gadget.
Ooh, nice. Is it a ring light?
Yeah, and like it's only been kind of a problem recently. I realize I'm not lit here anymore as well. Oh, and my toilet's running. I better fix that. Hold on.
Okay.
Quality content. There we go. Yeah, I've been having this lighting issue, and I was thinking about getting some kind of lighting, and then Rob attended a .NET conference online last week. And today he got a box of mail with a bunch of swag, and one of the things was like a wireless clip-on selfie ring light.
Ooh, nice.
But rather than clip on my phone, I've got it clipped on my monitor, and it's solving my lighting issue. Except
and
that,
I love what ring light.
That should not be happening. Yeah.
And I love what.
Hey Siri, turn on Do Not Disturb. Oh. Well, that's fun.
What just happened?
The audio cut out halfway through, and I thought it messed up my stream audio, but it seems to be okay.
Okay.
Yep. Weird.
Okay.
The only thing I don't like about ring lights is like if you don't position your head right, like they put this ring on my glasses, like.
Yeah.
So.
I like what ring lights do, especially when they get that round light in the in the pupils. I don't know. I love that effect. It's a simple ring light effect, but I absolutely love that effect. So.
Really, Sarah Lane, hers does that all the time on D10S, and like it looks weird.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite little. It's a simple thing. So, all right, are we ready?
Sure.
All right, play us in.
Devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
We ought to give thanks for all fortunes. If it is good, it's because it's good. If it's bad, because it works in us patience, humility, and the contempt of this world, and the hope for our eternal country. C.S. Lewis.
When I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around. Willie Nelson. Let's talk about Thanksgiving.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me at SethRothII on Twitter. You can also follow the show's Twitter by just looking up Heresy and Hearsay. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site where you can find us at patreon.com/heresyandhearsay, where you can find our past shows and a way to help us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help make this humble show. And with me, my co-host, Lucy to my Charlie Brown, September.
Hello, this is September, or 9 of 12, and you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. That's NINE02. Oof. New words. I am also co-host of the Geek Grills podcast. Welcome to our Twitch channel, and you can contribute with bits in Twitch or subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime. You can follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, all that. Also, give us a review. That helps others find us. Also, we have a website, so you can listen to all of our past shows, as well as find bios about each of us. That's at heresyandhearsay.com.
So, as always, first off, sorry for the hiatus, and it's going to be a bit longer. We're going to do this show, and then we're going to do one show in December, and then in January, we're going to hit the ground running. So, I apologize for that. There has been a lot of stressors in my life. Fighting to get disability through work, which they said no, and we're no longer going to employ you, has made life even more stressful. So right now I'm dealing with that. But I wanted to try to do this show and let you guys know that we're alive and we're doing things, I swear. So that's part of it. But I've been doing my best to deal with my depression the best ways I know how, which is ignore it, because I'm a Generation Xer and that's what we do. No, I'm trying to find good coping mechanisms, but that Gen X gene is kicking in hardcore right now, and it's like, just ignore it, it'll go away eventually, or it won't, whatever, kind of thing. So I've been watching TikTok videos about Gen Xers and finding out none of us have great coping mechanisms whatsoever when it comes to our mental health.
Oh, stop.
Well, here's the thing. We understand mental health as Gen Xers. We're just like, okay, fine. Because, a lot of us was raised as latchkey kids, and we were cooking for ourselves by the age of 8, and we were, babysitting by the age of 10, our younger siblings and stuff like that. And, during, the weekend or summer, they just basically kicked us out of the house at 8 as soon as the sun was risen, and we didn't show back up again until like 10 o'clock at night. So, things that you typically would, being sent to buy.
Is that why cooking is such a coping mechanism for me?
Yes, I think, yeah. For me too. I love to cook. I absolutely love to cook, but it's, you had to cook for yourself when you were such a young kid. And do you remember when you were in elementary school and stuff, how they would have, like, once or twice a year, they'd have the fire department show up to talk to you about stop, drop, and roll?
Mm-hmm.
That was because they knew we were cooking in our houses by ourselves, and we were the only way to keep ourselves from catching on fire was to do it ourselves. So, we were using utensils, and we were using the stove. By the time I was 12, I was like, the only thing I couldn't do well is I couldn't cut. I have a small fear of cutting, because when I was learning, my father was trying to teach me to cut, and I cut myself really deep, like ran into the living room, waving my finger, blood splattering all over the living room like a murder scene, because I cut really deep into my right first knuckle, and I've had a fear of doing that again. So I don't, my cutting, my knife skills aren't very good because of that. So, but everything else, I'm very good at cooking, and I think a lot of us are that are a Generation X. No, I've just been going down the TikTok rabbit hole of Generation X, and I'm not sure that's a healthy mechanism either.
Well, it can definitely make you feel less alone in your struggle.
It's true, but there's also a lot of drinking involved with these videos as well. I'm like, I don't have any alcohol, but you're making me want to join you in a lot of drinking. So it's like, maybe not. How have you been?
Fine. I'm fine.
The typical response from a Gen
No,
Xer.
I've had some ups and downs, personal relationship struggles, but they seem to be a little calmed down now. And I've had a couple of really amazing things with my co-host from Geek Girls coming up for the Renaissance Festival and getting to do blacksmithing for the first time the other day. It was super freaking great. That's kind of like a almost bucket list thing. Like I've always wanted to
Right.
weld, and I was so unreasonably giddy and happy about making this knife that I'm like, I feel like it almost checked both things off my list
Okay.
somehow. Um,
Uh,
I had a, I don't know, I'm still processing. I mean, I'm not really bothered, but I am officially old now. So we don't get as many trolls in this channel yet about coming online and going, oh my god, it's the Golden Girls, and calling us old ladies. But I'm significantly older than my co hosts, and has been feeling great about that because, I mean, you wouldn't know how great we get together, along together, and everything. But the other day, I had my annual Lady Bits appointment, and it seems we've figured out and decided that I have indeed undergone the change.
the change. Yeah.
So I had my IUD removed, and then I had to deal with that, physically. It wasn't too bad, just a little cramping, but that made my brain do weird things, like have reactions to the cramping as if it were the normal cramping you grow up with as a woman. Where I was like, I just want to lay in bed and have chocolate. Go get me ice cream.
You know what?
So
That's okay. For your last one of those, it's fine to go back to that. I guess. Sure, why not?
so yeah, I guess. Um, but there's acceptance that I am
Yeah.
processing of there's no more denying, regardless of who I spend time with and how I mentally and emotionally feel, that I am at a different phase of life.
Well, one of besides the trolls, which are trolls, and here's the thing: trolls can come into us and talk as long as they're not racist or all that stuff. I don't care because they're trolls. And at this point in my life, I'm like, 5 years ago they may have made a difference in my life, but right now I'm like, whatever. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't, as long as it's not a bunch of racist slurs. I really don't care
I mean, they've
because
come in to the other channels and been like, "Ooh, a milf." I'm just like, thank you. I mean, what? Why wouldn't you consider that a compliment? Listen, I'm just not gonna engage. Thanks, bye.
no, yeah. No, but one of the things on the TikTok was talking. A lot of the women were talking about. There was a lot of guys talking about how Gen X women don't look like their mothers at the same ages, and how they look much younger. And it's like, well, it's the Aquanet. There was so much Aquanet that their faces haven't been able to move in years. So that's why wrinkles. Yeah. Have you seen the amount of Aquanet? We had to stop using Aquanet because we were destroying the ozone layer. We could, and that's back in the 80s. The ozone layer and all that kind of stuff. When we were able to fix it because we stopped being, silly. We can't do that now with climate change. That's the I'm about to get angry, and we haven't even had our prayer yet. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, so, but it's like, yeah, it's the Aquanet. It's the Aquanet, and the fact that back in the day they didn't use suntan lotion. I mean, they didn't use sunscreen. They used baby oil. That probably helped too. Maybe, I don't
not me.
know. But yeah, or it could have been all the Boone's Farms that were drank out of 16-ounce glasses.
It's the
That
number
pickled
of
you.
goths that stayed completely out of the sun.
Yeah, probably that. But I also but look, as the goths back in the 80s, you guys used a lot of hairspray too. Look, hairspray was a thing, especially with the Aquanet. Uh, Yeah, they showed a picture, and I was like, "Oh, that brings back flashbacks." Because even I used hairspray back in the '80s because I had a perma mullet. I had a, and those pictures have all been destroyed. No one has seen those pictures. I even went and made sure they were destroyed in the yearbook
Oh, jeez.
because no one needs to know that Daniel ever had a perma mullet. Jeez. Oh, anyways, so that's our mental health. Um, anything else before we get into
Nope.
the tonight's discussion? All
Nope.
right, then before we discuss this week's topic, Brother Bowie, will you lead us in a word of prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
You know, I'm kind of glad that we do that every week or every show. There's just something special about him giving the Lord's Prayer. I don't know.
It's very soothing.
Yes, it is. Um, so so this week we're going to talk about Thanksgiving as we do about this time every year, because we typically don't do a show on Thanksgiving week because, well, September has a lot of cooking to do. She's got at least 2 pies to make, and September has gotten into a new thing, which is making sausages.
Yes.
And so, you know, uh,
You know what I
by the
have
way,
going right now?
what do you got going right now?
Bacon. Like
You
a
know
pork
what?
belly that is curing that I am going to smoke and make bacon from scratch.
You know what? You live far too far from me for you to be telling me these things. Jesus, really? Sausage is now bacon. What's next? You'll make a Thanksgiving sausage. I have seen those. Speaking of things that should never be Thanksgiving flavored, have you seen what Brock has come out with? The people who
Oh, the
force
candy
people to
corn
eat.
thing?
Yeah,
That's
the
nuts.
Thanksgiving candy corn.
I saw an actual nutritionist do a review of it. It was hilarious. Don't buy it.
I saw one of the guys that does this is it's a Southern thing. Taste test each one of those. He was like physically ill through most of it, and I'm like, yeah, well, I can imagine it's from the same people who make candy corn, and we all know how I feel about candy corn. I
Yeah.
try not to. I'm trying to be better because there are people who enjoy candy corn, and I'm trying not to, you know,
I
uh,
like candy corn.
I'm trying not to yuck your yum. I really am. I just
I mean, you eat Turkish Delight. Ooh. So you really don't have any room with that gelatinous weirdness.
It's got nuts and fruits in it. What candy
Not the
corn
ones I've seen.
is neither candy nor corn. I know.
Actually, I learned that
Mhm.
candy corn used to be called chicken feed.
Well, that makes a lot more sense.
Well, actually, the transition happened after, excuse me, different shortages during the war, and then
Right.
corn started to be seen as people food, where previously it had only been seen as food for chickens.
Which is weird considering that corn is what's sustained so many people, especially in the South, because flour was so scarce and they used like cornmeal instead. And that's why cornbread became so vital to the Southern kitchen tables, is because of the lack of flour or the over or not being able to afford flour. So
Right, but that's a
that I
different
find,
corn that you use for that kind of thing than actually
yeah.
just eating corn that looks like corn.
Which also is weird considering the fact that, if it wasn't for corn, a lot of our ancestors that came over from from England wouldn't have survived. So, and they ate corn, so that's a little weird. I guess there was like some foods, it turns into something else and then it turns back into something else. So I would have to look up the history of corn. That would actually be kind of
You
interesting.
would.
Um, One of the things that will be in our show notes is, did you know that there were other countries that celebrated a form of Thanksgiving? It's
Yes.
not like our Thanksgiving, but a form of Thanksgiving. And we're not counting Canada because they don't count. Not in the they don't count normal way, but in the but in the they've we all people in the United States have always known that Canada has their own Thanksgiving, which is reasonable. It's in October when the crops come in, versus ours, which is in November, which is going to start, people murdering each other for cheap TVs.
Well, it also, I mean, in November, you're still laying up the harvest, which
Yeah.
to me has a lot to do with this kind of tradition. A neat thing Canada does is theirs is not, and they kind of just celebrate it anytime during that long weekend.
Right.
And here, it was not this way when I was growing up. I mean, we'll get to other countries, but my kids get the whole week off of school for Thanksgiving.
We got Thanksgiving and I think we got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off. We had to go to
Yeah,
school
I
on
think,
Tuesday.
yeah, maybe the Wednesday or half day Wednesday, and then the Friday, Thursday, Friday. But my kids, ever since we've lived here for like 20 years, they get the whole week, this random fall break.
Well, that's not fair at all. No,
Yeah.
like it's like no, that's not fair at all. Why are they getting a whole week off when we only got like at best? We got Thanksgiving Day and no and Friday because parents weren't going to drop their kids off anyways because they were going to be busy Black Friday shopping. But yeah, I remember when I was in elementary school. You're correct. It was like a half day on Wednesday, and then it turned into a whole day went when I transitioned to junior high. That was a new thing. It's like we're going to give a whole day on Wednesday instead of a half day, and now it's the whole week. Huh, well, okay. And then
Sure.
in England, I think they do like for Christmas break, they do like an entire month.
Hmm.
They're off from like the 15th to the 15th. So that way you get the celebrations and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a little different. That's kind of a lot different, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure they
yeah.
make it
So
up other ways. So
so
China
actually,
is
well,
another
I was
country.
looking the first. I was looking at the Canadian thing. The first thing that I wanted to bring up is that the Canadians actually did it first. They did it
Yes.
40 years before our first American holiday in 1578.
So take that, all you America people.
But it's very similar to ours as far as the foods are concerned and everything else. So let's go to some that may be a little bit different. China, I am not going to pronounce that.
Changshu.
Thank you. Is a fall harvest that falls on the 15th day of the month. And you'll find with all the Asian countries that we'll be discussing, it basically falls on the same day, but it's the 15th day of the 8th lunar cycle of the year. So it's basically November or October. They do one of their big things is in China is known as moon cakes. Why don't you describe what a moon cake is?
So mooncakes are round pastries that typically contain duck eggs, lotus seed paste, and sesame seeds. So the yolk represents the full moon, and the cakes usually have like a baker's logo or insignia embossed on the top. And I gotta tell you, that sounds delicious.
That does sound very good.
I
Uh,
love sesame seeds. I have a recipe for a baklava that uses sesame seeds instead of like
oh,
nuts. So
right.
good.
That sounds very tasty. They also recite poetry. It's a particular special holiday for couples who can celebrate some romance under the full moon. Even couples that are long distance make an effort to watch the full moon at the same hour. So, oh, that's sweet. Um,
Yeah.
in
And it's
Vietnam,
like a
it's
3-day feast that families have.
right. Featuring sweet delicacies called mooncakes, and then that's so. I wonder. I've never tasted lotus, so I wonder what that would taste like. In Vietnam, they have a similar festival. This is on the same page, which they give thank and honor their families. So next on the list is Germany. Germany's Thanksgiving is known as Ingdunkfest, Innerdunkfest, which translate into the Harvest Thanksgiving Festival. Um, it's most celebrated by rural or religious groups and is an opportunity for farmland cultures to give thanks and honor for their harvests. The celebration in large cities too, but it's more of a church service and not like American Thanksgivings. It's also uh, any official designation. It's not an official designated holiday. Um, it's usually celebrated mid-September or October, but since 1972, the Catholic Church recommends celebrating it the first Sunday in October, but this rule is not strictly followed.
That's weird.
What?
The German Catholic Church has its own recommendations for when to have it.
Right. And the people who have it in mid-September is like, no, because in October it's cold. It's like, we're going to do it now. This holiday is not exclusive to Germany, but most German-speaking countries take part in the festivals, like Austria and Switzerland. Because of the religious elements, it is often sponsored by both Christian and Protestant churches. Okay, all right. I have a question about the writing of this article right now. I believe they mean Catholic and Protestant churches. So the celebration is often begins with a church service, both the large and small cities. In the cities, the services are followed by a parade and a presentation of the harvest crown, designating the harvest queen.
Can we add that to the Macy's parade?
We should.
And crown a harvest queen, please, instead of having Santa at the end.
Do you have a problem with Santa at the end?
I'm not ready for Santa. How about both? What?
Are you being a Scrooge about Santa Claus being at the end?
No, I'm being a Scrooge about the patriarchy.
Oh well, that's fine.
I think if you're having a big giant thing celebrating the harvest, I don't think Santa gets the credit. I think he should crown a harvest queen. I think he should give her the crown, and then he's allowed to start doing his Christmas shit.
Okay. Fine.
He only works one day.
He works every day. Okay. So his elves work every day. Yeah.
Well, he's making toys.
Yeah, he's helping make toys.
Farmers are feeding us.
Yeah.
You decide.
Churchgoers also distribute leftovers and surplus food to the poor. So it's not as a big deal, but it's a religious festival that kind of rolls through the German-speaking countries, depending on when their harvests come in and stuff like that, because certain places get much colder, much faster in the middle of Europe. So just saying, I lived there. I know this to be true. So, all right. So why don't you take the next one? Because I know the word, for some reason, the pronunciation is escaping me.
For Grenada?
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. It's like, I know the word. It's like, I said it to myself, when I was reading the article initially, and I'm like, why can't I say it now?
Well, because it looks like
So
Granada, but I'm pretty sure it's
it is
pronounced
Grenada.
Grenada.
It's Grenada
Yeah.
because it's where we invaded,
Yes.
back in the 80s. Yeah, it's Grenada.
We heard it a lot.
Yeah, well, this was one of the first ones Reagan did because he wanted, he wanted to like have a win. I think this is what, if I remember correctly, this is what the movie Heartbreak Ridge was about, was Grenada, and I'm like, yeah, we don't need movies about Grenada, okay, Clint Eastwood, yeah, all right,
So,
fine.
the
Anyway.
small island nation of Grenada celebrates Thanksgiving annually on October 25th. The tradition began in 1983 to commemorate the American and Caribbean intervention in Grenada. So, I mean, do we want to go into all this history? But yeah, because you already explained about how Reagan went in.
Yeah,
But the
and
country's
technically,
government had been overthrown by a coup, and it was a socialist dictatorship, and there was this power struggle, and we intervened, and that's what they celebrate for Thanksgiving.
sure.
I mean,
Like,
the intervention we justified with the dictator announcing that anyone seen outside past curfew would be shot on sight. I'm sorry, I
Right.
can't speak today. Jeez. So yeah, I mean, we went in, and the RSS went in, and Jamaica went in, which is interesting. And then after the invasion, it was close to our American Thanksgiving. Ours was coming, so our soldiers shared their traditions and customs with the locals. So, in showing gratitude, the Grenadians invited soldiers to eat with them on Thanksgiving, and they prepared a bunch of the island nation's standard plates, which are still consumed on the holiday in thanks.
so nothing like colonialism to bring festivals together.
Yeah,
If we're just being
it's like we pass on our tradition to them. It's a little odd.
yeah. The next one is Japan, which is on November 23rd every year in Japan. It's a Labor Thanksgiving holiday observed. Not all Japanese citizens are guaranteed to have the day off from work for this holiday, unlike Americans, but all government entities in Japan are closed for this day in celebration of the country's industrial workers in progress. That almost sounds like a socialist holiday, doesn't it?
Well,
Let's celebrate the.
I guess. I mean, a lot of the holidays we have here now, not everyone gets off.
Yeah,
Like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, they were only giving veterans off. There's a lot of bank holidays, we call them,
right.
but not all hourly wage workers get them or anything.
No. Used to be. Speaking of Thanksgiving and things that used to be, remember when it was back in the day when everything closed on Thanksgiving? I mean, grocery stores, fast food. You might find a gas station open, but that was about it. And now all of them are open like part of the day. They may be
Part of the
closed
day.
on Christmas. And I'm just like, and don't get me started on Black Friday starting on Thanksgiving. That is just, anyways, we've had that discussion before. The origin of Japanese Thanksgiving holiday actually dates back to the 7th century. The first recording of this holiday could be found in ancient records from 678 AD, as originally known as large Japanese word that I can't pronounce, and is a holiday to celebrate the welcoming of the harvest season. But Japanese progressed and evolved into an industrial country rather than an agrarian one. The celebration switched from honoring farmers to honoring workers. The modern interpretation has been practiced since 1948. It came after the country expanded their constitution following the World War II. The new laws regarding workers' rights and establishing fundamental human rights. Special events are held across the country in honor of the holidays. On the biggest celebration of is the Nagego Labor Festival, which celebrates the environment, peace, and human rights. It is also the city that hosted the Olympic Winter Games in 1998 and holds a special place in Japanese history. All right. So next, we're not going to read all of these, but it's like,
Yeah, there's a
Norfolk
lot.
Island. Yeah, it's like I wanted to hit some of the more interesting ones, and there's one I want to hit on in a little bit. But where is Norfolk Island? When I hear that, I think, is it off of Virginia? But it's part of it's in near Australia. So
It's situated in the Pacific Ocean between Australia and New Zealand.
mm, okay. So it's a harvest holiday as well.
And it looks like, yeah, theirs is very much a food festival.
Yeah, and it also looks like it initially started because of whaling ships coming in from the U.S. and stuff like that, and so it kind of does that. So not only would you probably get a harvest festival, but you might even get sea shanties, which I have become quite a huge fan of these days. So if you sing a sea shanty, new holiday tradition. Everybody has to sing a sea shanty before they can eat turkey. So South Korea, which is very similar to the Japanese um, one as far as when it's done and everything else. The only thing I want to touch on is their rice cake known as songpyeon,
Songpyeong.
which yes, which is a rice cake dough that is made with very finely ground new rice and filled with sesame seeds, another thing you like, chestnuts, red beans, and other delights, and is molded into small balls. One of the things they do is the night before, the family will get together and kind of make these balls before they're cooked the next day. So it's showing the connection of Korean culture as well as family. So I like
There's
that.
like a whole episode where they talked a lot about these of Kim's Convenience, actually.
Mm.
Sorry, just an aside. I loved their show.
No,
I watched the whole thing.
Liberia. This is an interesting one. It's a Thanksgiving celebration in the first Thursday of November each year. It's almost identical to the United States Thanksgiving, aside for the day it's celebrated. For those who don't know, would you like to give a bit? Do you know the bit of the history of Liberia?
No.
Okay, so Liberia was a country that was founded after the Civil War, and it was founded and populated by a lot of former slaves that decided they didn't want to stay in America, but they brought a lot of their American traditions with them. So, um, though it has changed over the last 120 years or so, 140 years or so. Initially, it started out like a former slave colony of former Americans coming over and everything else, but it has enveloped some of the African cultures and stuff like that since then. But they still do a lot of American celebrations, and one of them is Thanksgiving. So that
Well, this is a really nifty bit of history. I did not know that Monrovia was named after James Monroe.
yes,
That's really
I
cool. I want to look up recipes now because apparently they have a lot of similar things on the menu, but they like spicy food over there, so they use different seasonings to give their dishes a kick, and that's up my alley.
yeah, that may be something that it's like, can you imagine, a green bean casserole that has actually got some flavor to it,
Oh, well, I already kicked mine up, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad because let's see, the Netherlands, but that's fairly because of the fact that they were also settling at the same time. The Dutch were settling at the same time as the English, so a lot of those traditions of harvest festivals kind of came over on both sides. And at that point, it was not uncommon for them to bring back some of those celebrations, as we'll find out with the UK. They brought back, and while it's not a national holiday per se in some respects, in some of these areas, they do have a they do have a similar thing when it comes to Thanksgiving in the Netherlands and also in the UK. UK again is as far as the UK is concerned, it is not a national holiday, but when we get to it, which is the next one in six people in the British Isles celebrate partake in a Thanksgiving style festival. Because let's be fair, I celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving because I like to eat. And, if you're going to give me 2 Thanksgivings in a year, why not? This also helps when I dated a Canadian back in the day. So it's like when she had stayed over after my parents passed away, and to make her feel more at home because she was missing Canadian Thanksgiving, we had a Canadian Thanksgiving for her here. And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, we're going to have Canadian Thanksgiving every year because it's 2 Thanksgivings. I mean, more of the eating." So, all right. The others are fairly. Brazil is also transported over from the Americas as well.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of people like visited America in November and said, "This is really cool. Let's start doing it." The food was great.
Or they're like Barbados or something like that, where they're close in, so you get travelers coming into their lands, going, "Hey, this will be great. Why don't we do this?" So, all right. So,
well,
last couple.
Barbados is a little different because their harvest festival is celebrating sugarcane harvest season.
Right. So a couple more things, and then we're going to let you go for this show. First off, I would like to say a couple of things I am thankful for. The first one is I am so thankful that the infrastructure package passed. It is not exactly the full infrastructure package of the 1.7, but it is still a wonderful thing that's in there for the bridges, as well as for what else? Also, it's got high-speed internet and stuff like that. So it's very helpful.
Sorry, Siri's being broken.
That's okay.
You heard me turn on Do Not Disturb.
I did. Hold on.
Okay. Sorry.
Stop it. Sorry, my system's crashing on me. All right. All right. Sorry. Hold on a second. I'm having some issues. Why don't you discuss a couple of things you're thankful for while I work on
this? I'm thankful that Heresy and Hearsay is alive again. I was having concerns. I'm thankful that my cat is okay. Our cat Lil has been ill. We took her to the vet, and they weren't able to find any answers yet. It doesn't look like we will. It seems to be stress. So, speaking of weird mental health things, my son that she is most attached to and bonded with recently started a job. He was out of work for a year and a half during the pandemic, and he all of a sudden started working 40 hours a week, and the cat lost like half her body weight and wasn't grooming herself properly, and we had all this blood work done. So I'm not thankful it cost a bunch of money to find out it's just her stressing out, but I guess she'll be okay, and I don't have to give her a bunch of pills every day, which would have been a nightmare. I am grateful that my daughter's pregnancy seems to be going along swimmingly. So I will be a grandma again before too long. and that the grills safely made it to and from North Carolina. So we had our real life in-person visit, and it went swimmingly. My heart is full from just, it was no different than friends I see in person all the time, to spend an entire day with them. Also thankful that another friend of mine, Leanne, had a successful surgery this week and is recovering, and I was able to drop her off food because it's how I do. I think we
I'm sorry. I got it fixed.
Okay.
Apologize. I heard everything you said.
Okay.
Too. So anyways, I'm also, for me, I am thankful that things are going well for you. I'm thankful that your show, The Geek Grills, is ticking along great. You've passed the 200 mark since the last time we were on, which is wonderful. Or I think. Anyways, I'm also grateful for the friends and support that I've been getting over the past few months with struggles with lack of work and everything else, and I'm just grateful for all of that and all of my friends out there. And I'm also grateful that things are improving as a whole as far as the nation is concerned. I know that people don't see that, and there's a lot of clickbaity stuff, but the economy is doing well. People talk about inflation, but the thing is, you have to look at not 2020 numbers, but 2019 numbers to see it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. Gas is about the same price as it was in 2019 at this time. Everything else, the only thing that's being an issue right now, that's being a burden in everybody's side, is the supply chain, and that will get resolved. We just have to be patient. That's why I made sure to get all my Christmas presents that I could afford for my family. I could get that, now, so I didn't have to stress about it in a couple of months. I'm always sending out Christmas cards this week so that I make sure they get out and everybody gets them. And I'm thankful for everybody who sent me and gave me their addresses and stuff. I greatly appreciate it. So because that's how I deal with my depression of Christmas, is that. And also, every year since we initially covered it, I watch Cameron Saving Christmas so I can laugh hysterically at how bad he is at this job.
Ugh. Weirdo.
Which, did you know they took it down off of YouTube?
No.
They took our review down. Yep. I'm like, we didn't even show any clips to the movie.
What?
Like, no, they took it down. Yeah.
Why?
Because it was something about it didn't. It was claimed. And I'm like, how can it be claimed? I'm a tiny channel that doesn't even get money. How can you claim
No,
it?
that's original content. That's garbage.
I just don't feel like fighting Kirk Cameron about it. It's not that big of a deal.
I would have that fight. Can't believe you didn't tell me that. I would have that fight.
Yeah. So it's like, because I was trying to look it up, and it's like, watch it and see how much we've changed over the years. So before we go on, and we'll touch this again next month, but I want to touch on a couple of things. In January, there's going to be, first off, we will continue to do this show. This show will continue on a weekly basis, and it'll start the first full week of January. But also starting that Monday of the first full week, I am going to start doing a 5 to 10 minute little daily aspirations is the best term, but it's not going to be super religious. It may have some spiritual context, but it's not going to be religious context. But it's also just, kind of say, hey, yeah, I know today is, Monday, whatever. This is the big stuff.
So affirmations, not preaching.
Right, correct.
Gotcha.
I know things. Yeah, I know things of. I know. Yeah, if you look at the news, it's all like doom and gloom, but things are okay. Let me tell you why, and give you a little peace of mind. And I hope to have those up at noon every day so that people can, like, while they're having lunch or whatever, they can listen. While they're driving to pick up their fast food, or while they're sitting down at work or whatever, they can sit down and they can listen to a couple of minutes of me talking. And I'll even practice my soft soothing tones so that I can speak like ASMR, AR, whatever that is, while you're at work.
Sure.
So I can be soothing too. So, anyways, at this point, is there anything else that you have on your mind right now before Thanksgiving
Nope.
and the start of Christmas? All
Nope.
right. Well, then, in that case, I want to thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. You can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and podcast, as well as our website. Just Google us. Don't forget our Patreon page, where $2 a month can keep this show going.
Sorry. I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. And you can hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Are you okay?
I've been wheezing, and I didn't have an inhaler nearby.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Why don't I let you go so you can get your inhaler?
Why is record off?